Hi everyone, a very good evening. I welcome you all to the Dare Act Conversation series. Our endeavor with the series is to bring forward stories of lawyers who've dared to act differently. Now, our guest for today is Gautam Gavankar, who is not just a lawyer, he's also an umpire impaneled with the BCCI. Without much ado, let's get him on board and understand how did he manage to combine his love for cricket and law. Gautam, I've just sent you a request. Hello.
Hi. Thank you for having me here. Thank you.
So good to have you and so good to see you finally.
Yeah. Thank you
How
very
are you
much.
doing, Gautam?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Kind of a forced sabbatical right now because of all
Post
this pandemic
sabbatical. You would
situation.
rather be on the ground, right?
Yeah, so I wish.
Okay, so I am very interested to ask you a bunch of questions, and without much ado, I'm just going to jump with all the questions, right? Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah, for next half an hour, I'm all yours.
Perfect. Okay, so what I know is cricket is something which has been you've been actively playing cricket since early childhood, and you were in fact an under 19 cricket player. Is that correct?
Yeah. So just like any other kid in India, it's a cricket fanatic nation. So from school days, I started playing. I was madly in love with the game. So age group crickets, I played for my district. Basically, I come from a small town called Savantwadi. It's southern Konkan on the Goa border. So I used to play for my school, then district, then I went for the trials of the state as well till under 19. And
Wow.
then the law college happened, and I came to Mumbai, and things
Okay,
changed slightly.
hold on.
Yeah.
From playing cricket, how did law college happen? Please connect the dots.
See, the place where I come from or the atmosphere that we grew, there wasn't a career oriented thought as such. So, what a any person passing out 10th would do, he will think about engineering or a medical course. So, since my brother was already doing engineering, so I thought I would do medical. That's the basic sum and substance of how I wanted to go about the career. And the things happen easily when you are academically good. That is, I had the scores to boast of. I was a SSC rank holder in the merit. So then when you score that sort of a mark, you go to science. There's no thought behind it. You take the science stream, you think of engineering or medical. The medical did not work out the way I wanted. I couldn't secure an admission for MBBS. I got an admission through BDS course, but maybe by that time, mind had changed. So the law happened again out of nothing. Kuch to karna hai, if not medical, then law. So you would be surprised to know that somebody enrolling himself to government law college did not even know that a college by that name exists a month before the admission. Or there's something called National Law School, or there is a common admission test for law. I had no clue. I just happened to land up in Mumbai to
Wow.
have a.
So, but you had by then decided that you won't practice, like, did you still wanted to pursue cricket? Even though you wanted to be academic, you wanted to continue your education?
Yes, I did want to, because I tried also when I came to Mumbai. I tried with Mumbai Cricket Association, but maybe again I was that kid whose love and enthusiasm for the game far exceeded his talent and skill level. So being the half decent cricketer, the opportunities were limited. So the cricket remained for more or less as a joy or a stress buster, which I would come to when you ask me about maybe college life, then how cricket acted as my stress buster. So the
So
cricket
you made it
playing
easy
career
for me.
ended there. Yeah.
Wonderful. So I'm assuming you also played for the cricket team of GLC. Was there one at your time?
Yes. I did for all 5 years that I studied in GLC. I was part of the cricket team.
Wonderful. So tell me, how was your college life?
Again, a small town boy, studied in vernacular medium, to be precise, Marathi medium. Suddenly, uh, coming into a South Mumbai college, government law college, it was a cultural shift, I would say. So suddenly, after going to the college, where everybody is like speaking hi-fi English, I had never had an opportunity to converse in English. I found myself short of words in literal sense. So
Yeah.
Getting into the college life, I did not have friends to begin with. I couldn't even initiate a conversation. So those were very difficult transition period where you just go another inconsequential boy in the classroom who comes and sits on the last bench. So during that period, cricket was something which was a very good distraction. So the most of the time used to go in practicing at Shivaji Park, and that is the time when I saw this advertisement in newspaper regarding umpiring examinations,
Oh,
which was
interesting.
conducted by Mumbai Cricket Association, and Wankhede Stadium being very close to the GLC. One day I landed up at Wankhede and filled up that form. That's in 2005 I'm talking about.
So that first year of law, is it?
First year of law college. Yeah.
Wow. So that happened. Tell us. So when was the exam? Did you give it while you were doing your law, or was it later?
Yeah, basically that exam is a 45-day course by Mumbai Cricket Association for the empanelment of umpires at local level. The matches you see at Azad Maidan, Cross Maidan, Shivaji Park, Kanga League, Time Shield, all these things we hear of. So I enrolled myself to the classes, 45 days course I attended, but I had not completed 18 years of age then. So
Oh,
the rule was that you had to complete 18 years and I couldn't appear for that exam. 2006, I again did the course. I appeared for the exam and I flunked. First of exam which I flunked. So it took me another year to again attend the course. And by 2008, that is third year of my law college, I was an umpire empaneled with Mumbai Cricket Association.
wow. And it's funny how, at least I can speak for myself. When I was in my third year, I was after law firms looking for that next best internship where I could then get a PPO and then I could then get a job. And here you were focusing on getting empaneled with BCCI. I mean, what drastic differences. Yeah, that's amazing. So
So,
were you,
so
so when you were
maybe
studying,
that was to distract my focus to something else.
yeah,
Maybe
that's
I
true.
wasn't finding myself very comfortable in the college, the law atmosphere. That was I tried to focus on something else.
Yeah. But did you also do internships? Were you also a regular law student, or were you not into um
Uh, I was very different from a normal law student you see in the law college. So I remember there's something called placement week we used to have in government law college. And I remember because I had good grades in my third year, the internship, I got quite a few offers for internship from top tier law firms. And I had no idea about the names, about which firm does what. And I never ended up giving those interviews or approaching them.
Oh,
So
wow.
basically, I had zero idea. I never attended any court and government law college. I don't remember attending a lecture. I used to be in college, but I don't remember attending a lecture. Mostly used to be some matches which I'm officiating as an umpire or playing for club on the ground and then passing some time in the college premises, whatever the premises that we had. So I was totally, it wasn't that is a career oriented law student or who's doing moot courts or doing committee work. That so I wasn't into that.
Yet you landed a job and in a good law firm, and then you ended up doing your own, litigation practice. Tell us about that.
So that's in 2010. Again, I it was a placement week in GLC, and I landed up a job again at the tier one firm. Two things that perhaps worked in my favor. One was I had good marks to show on the report cards for whatever difficulties I had in the first or second year of college. When I made peace with them, or maybe I countered them, then I finished as one of the toppers of the college, rather the university. So that one point was an added advantage. And secondly, this particular firm, which offered me a job, very interesting thing happened when I cleared the GD and I went for an interview. The founder partner there, he interviewed me for around 40 minutes, and not even 5 minutes were for law. So
How interesting.
when he saw something like you have not interned anywhere, and so and he saw most of the things related to cricket, has played cricket, is umpiring, so he was intrigued with this thing. What is his umpiring? And next 30 minutes we are talking about cricket laws. umpiring, he's asking me how many ways does a batsman get out? What are those 10 ways? Has any batsman got out obstructing the field and all this stuff? And surprisingly, I ended up with a job. So I think people have different, sometimes people have these perceptions about law firms that they look at this and that and this. So I had this entirely different experience, full credit to that particular law firm, that I landed up with a job
Tell me
only on the
something.
basis of the click.
How did your friends and family react to this?
It was very surprising because nobody expected, even during the placement week when the friends talk or this, nobody expected someone like me to land up with a job through placements. With somebody who hasn't seen in college, who hasn't done anything like moot court or anything, and suddenly he's placed. And very few people got placed that year through the for whatever reasons, and I was one of those, luckily, fortunate. So it was very surprising, and it kind of a made story during that week that okay, this guy got through. So that's how it happened, and then the corporate life began in
The
2010.
corporate life. And the corporate life ended exactly in 11 months. Please tell us about that.
Yeah, I first of all I would like to
Oh, one
the
sec.
only
So
yeah.
you got empaneled in 2008, I'm assuming? That was the time, right?
With the MCA I got in 2008, and
And you
I
were
was
simultaneously holding you cricket matches. You were a part of these local
yes,
matches that were happening.
yes,
Okay.
because it gave a good pocket money then.
Ah,
So that was something when in college life where you don't have a lot of money in your hand, even those 300 and 400 rupees a day, they're like a good sum to have. So those
yeah.
3 years I did, and suddenly the umpiring stopped in 2010 when the job started, and then maybe that next year I had nowhere to look. There was it was pretty busy 11 months to be honest, where you do the long nights that we do in the law firms, the corporate law firms. So I experienced that. I kind of let them down after quitting 11 months because the kind of faith they had reposed in me. That's
Okay.
the only regret I have, but it all ended in a good note for them as well.
But why did you quit?
Uh, One day just realized it's not that I planned something again. Uh, the only funda that I had or even have today is मजा आना चाहिए life में. So मजा आ रहा था in the beginning when I started because I was getting the kind of money that I had not seen. So money is always a driving factor. So those 3, 4, 5 months when the money is an attraction, you tend to put those hard yards in your work. You feel, those all that sort of enthusiasm. Then suddenly that monotony got to me going to the office in the morning, again within those closed doors. At night, there's no time to go home. Some day it would be 12 a.m., some day it would be 2 a.m., whatever. So that sort of a thing was happening. And I categorically remember what changed one sudden day. I was walking from Churchgate Station to Nariman Point to my office, and I saw a cricket match happening at Oval Maidan. And I was like, "Kya yaar, kya kar raha hai?" This is perhaps what you want. Maybe the stone walls. You're not made for the stone walls. You're made for the green outfields. So that was very, very, very instinctive decision, which again left most people surprised, including my team members in the office. That suddenly one day a person comes, there's no background, there's no disharmony, there's nothing, and he says that okay, I
So
want to
you
quit
gave,
because
what reason did you give for leaving?
I said because I thought I wasn't putting my heart and soul was not into the work I was doing. The reason I had given was I'm unable to justify the salary I'm drawing. That was little
That's
weird,
actually
but
honest. Yeah.
so that's how it turned out with the corporate life.
And did you have a plan B at that moment, or it was just that I have clarity, I want to leave this, so I'm leaving it
Yeah.
without a backup?
I knew that this is the bus I want to get off. I don't know what is next. Because as you said, there was never a plan even till that point, how I landed up with a job. No, it wasn't. It was without a plan, so it just went on. I just got off the bus.
Okay, that's a daring act, so hence dare act conversation here. But what was your parents' reaction to this? from a
Uh,
stable job to within a, usually the guidance that we're given is stick around for a year and two and then figure out what you want to do. And here you are in 11 months crystal clear that this is something I don't want to do.
See, moms are like, they want to see their uh, kid settled. So there is a fixed definition called settled. So here, something she thought I was settled, and I'm coming out of that settlement. She was a little worried, but maybe I draw that inspiration from my father, who was like, see, he doesn't consider what car I'm driving or what clothes I'm wearing or which house I'm staying as being settled. So as long as you are of use to someone else, if you can help someone else, that's what I look forward to. You do whatever you want to do. If you are asking me, you do whatever you want to do. I am there. If it doesn't work out, I am there. I didn't exactly know then what he meant, but those words were really like they gave that sort of power.
Was there fear, like at a personal level? Did you feel fearful?
और not really. Somehow, मतलब वो था पता था कुछ ना कुछ कर लेंगे यार. It's just about discovering what you want to do. कुछ
Yeah.
ना कुछ कर लेंगे. There's something kept for everyone. So that again there was no plan. So I for the next month, next year or so, I was doing a little bit of things here and there. I taught at a CA institute, the law subjects I taught. I worked as an RJ with All India Radio for a very little time. Then I did a bit of dubbing and voice artist.
Wow.
So that those little bit of things here and there to just get myself going. Because when you do something so daring, as we said, you lose out on the bank balance. So to keep the machine going, I was doing these little things here and there.
And then what did you do? I know you also started your practice at some level, right? From not
Yeah.
ever entering the High Court to, taking up matters on your own. Tell us about that.
So that was in 2012, when, as I said, all these errands I was running, they were not uh, sufficient to sustain me in a city like Mumbai. So the that booth of doing something different started slowly getting off me, and I thought this is the time to start working seriously. So I one day I turned up at the High Court. You would be surprised at 5 years of law college and a year of a corporate firm. I had never seen High Court. I did not even know that since it's air conditioned courtrooms, the doors are shut. I did not even know you can open and just enter like that. So I slowly like looking at people here and there. I entered, not wearing the coat and gown. I used to sit in the last bench again on the court, hear the matters, what's happening. And then I started with small matters here and there. Basically, my friends who were placed in law firms, once they knew that I am starting off, if somebody approached them with some sort of a work, they would send that work to me. Or in my village, if some appellate matter was to be filed in the High Court, if people could not basically afford a lawyer, then I would be the go-to man because I needed work by whatever way it comes. So understanding the procedure was the most important part. So just sitting in the courtrooms, running through the departments. I would tell you interesting thing. There's one guy Bunty who is a court clerk, still does my work in court. He was the one who took me to the clerk room on the ground floor. I used to sit with him for 15, 20 days next, and whatever the clerical work he used to do in all the departments, I used to follow him. So he was
What
the
an
one who
experience.
he showed me this is decree department, this is writ department, this is appellate department. That's how I learned the matters. I used to sit in the library. Then I took an admission to another library also in Fort area so that I don't have to uh, spend something on office. And I used to operate from there. The filing, stitching of the briefs, everything I used to do. Till someone told me, भाई तू अपना image बना लेगा, थोड़ा वकालत का भी
Sounds
काम
very
कर
good.
ले.
But I'm curious, Gautam, why didn't you decide to join a senior lawyer or a counsel for that matter?
See, again, as I said, taking up law was again it wasn't a passionate decision that law में कुछ करना है. So the goal as a lawyer for me was very different from somebody who is passionate by law, or passionate with the law profession, or who wants to do, I want to do this, or in a firm, I want to become a senior associate or a partner, or so and so forth, or in law, I want to do this 2 years down the line. My starting of practice was to sustain myself in the city. So there were no goals. And side by side, I was, these exploring these opportunities with, as I said, in RJing or uh, in umpiring. So it wouldn't have been prudent to approach some senior and act as if I'm working on my own terms. That's what professionalism calls for. So
So tell me, okay, so you practiced on your own and you continue to do it primarily to sustain yourself. When did
yes.
life change?
So and the something which I started for sustaining myself, it started working. Basically,
It
I
started
knew that
working.
whatever I do, if I take it as a duty. If I take something, I take it as a duty. So if I'm putting my efforts, the results are there to see. So the work started coming from everywhere, and I got busy as a lawyer. Cricket started taking a little bit of backstage this time. I uh, took a position of in-house or a retainer with a reputed print
Okay.
media brand as well. There I worked for a year. And when it was all going good, again that Kira started biting. कि भाई क्या कर रहा है? Let's give it a shot. And again, on and off, I was doing these matches. In 2016, the BCCI came up with this examination, level one examination. So BCCI has this examination in three stages: level one refresher, and level two for
Okay.
empanelment of umpires. So 2016 they came up with this exam, and I was one of the eligible candidates for Mumbai Cricket Association, who in turn conducted another qualifying examination because there were too many eligible candidates. And then the serious journey towards umpiring as a career started in 2016.
Okay.
So those were the exams. It went on. They went on for around 2 years till 2018 in different stages. So,
So, and tell me, so where did you stand in those examinations, and tell, how often do these examinations happen, and how fierce was the competition?
see, it's again just like any career in sports or an uncertain areas. I would say these careers you don't make. These careers happen to you. You can't plan for these things. Like it sounds
You
all
just have to
nice
walk
and well.
around Oval Maidan and it'll happen to you.
So, so you have to be. So these opportunities are very few and far in between. So the exams before that were conducted in 2011, which I had obviously missed because of I was busy with something else, that is jobs and everything.
Corporate.
So
Yeah.
after 5 years, they happened in 2016. This time I
Wow.
found myself at right place to be eligible to sit. So then the next 2 years was about when the next stage is coming, when I pass it, and when I do what I want to do. That is being in touch with the game.
Yeah.
So in 2016, that level one happened. 25 of us from Mumbai had appeared for that exam. Then the level one refresher happened in 2017. For this and that reasons, the exams and results started getting postponed, and my heartbeats were up and down every now and then. Should I take a new matter that is coming to me, or what? How much I should develop my? By the time I had gotten my own office as well, so I'm whether I'm going to continue this or not. So all these
Yeah.
uncertainties which come with such a career change, I started grappling with those. So that those 2 years was like, Bhagwan, ek baar ye kuch clear kar de. That is, you give me the opportunity. I'll do what I
Yeah.
want to do with it, but just give me that opportunity. And again, fortunately, or maybe I have these things with exams. I won't say with my performance, but with exams that I finished as a topper in that exam as well in
How
2018.
confident, yeah. I like your confidence in terms of academics. There's no problem at all. Give me whatever.
So it somehow just happened. Like it just somehow just came to me. I won't boast that I know a lot of things. Maybe I knew how to write exams. So so I topped that, and then the empanelment with BCCI happened in 2018. That's in October.
And
And
how many? So how many people were selected by BCCI?
We were 19 of us who were empaneled that year,
At total all over India?
all over
19?
India, which then took the strength of the umpiring panel to 96, and which subsequent after another examination, now the strength stands at 124 all over India, the BCCI panel umpires.
That's it. That's all that we have.
Yeah, yes, that's.
Wow. And how often does BCCI come with such requirements? Is that an often
No,
thing that you see?
there's no straightforward formula for that. It's depending upon the workload, how many matches they are conducting, and how many retirements are there for the umpires, and how many umpires do they need. So for someone like who is joining uh, at my age, say at 30, 31, he has a career span till 55, a retirement age, unless he does terribly bad and is asked to leave the panel. It's sort of a long career. So the opportunities that can come for new umpires are very far and few in between,
Far and
as I
few.
said. So
Wow.
that's why I said these things need to happen to you. You can't
Yeah.
put all
And
your
you need
eggs
to
in this
grab
basket and say,
them because look
yeah,
how you missed in 2011 and then it came again
yeah,
for you. So this was meant to happen and you just
yeah.
took action. That's simple.
So
Wow.
when
And
you get off another bus, you get off some bus, you need to catch desperately, otherwise you will be stranded somewhere in between. So there's no option not
absolutely.
grabbing that.
And look at the irony from going to court and appearing before a judge, you became a judge on the ground yourself. So as the role that you play, I mean, all umpires play are absolutely critical. That leads to a question which I'm actually intrigued about. With the advent of these amazing cameras that we have in the last 10 years, the kind of technology that is used on the cricket field is crazy. As an umpire, do you ever feel intimidated by the sheer fear that you may miss looking at something and that camera will capture it and you will be subjected to judgment or criticism that may question your professional credibility?
That's the part and parcel of the profession. But as an umpire, one quality that you have to have is you have to be a good actor. So
You have to
even
be a
if you
good
are a good actor,
actor.
yeah. So even if you are intimidated, you can't show that you are intimidated. If you are worried about your decision making, yes, obviously, I would say I am worried, I am tensed whenever the decision making comes, but it should not reflect. So you have to be a good actor to show that, okay, I'm all calm and cool. The errors are part of the game. So that's sort of a acting skills you need to develop. So again, one quality that the profession calls for. And the other thing is, you have to tell yourself, on a serious note, that this is a profession where you cannot become a hero. So all those egos, pride, and everything you have to keep home while coming to the ground, because you are going. Only thing you can do and get noticed is error. Your good decisions or the regulation decisions you make. People are there to watch Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma's, and Tendulkar's. They're not going to watch umpires. So
No, but
what
when
I
you lift
say,
a finger, everyone's watching you. Let me tell you, your role is very, very important.
yeah, but they're never going to say how nicely he raised the finger. It could be only other way around. Or why did he raise the finger? So, so the thing I always say about is we are kind of a judge. Like, we are as important as judges in the courtroom. But only difference is judges are treated as important people. So that's the difference.
That's thank you for being so honest. That's so cute of you and sweet of you. And I understand that you also got married while you were practicing on your own. How did your wife react to your ever changing paths and your free spirit to not hold back and go out and try everything?
So my wife is basically she is my was my dearest friend in college. So the transition to wife
Uh,
happened very smoothly. So since we are batchmates, we both passed out from GLC, and she doesn't practice law again. So so we got married in 2014, but we were seeing each other, say we can say from 2010. So rather than more than her, maybe it was her mother's reaction when I quit the job. That was she was a little worried then my would-be wife then. So then and when we got married, this though that phase came where the career shift was on cards, a little bit of attention was diverting from the law profession to umpiring. That time I would say it was full credit goes to my wife Mukta because I was from 2014 to 2017. I was never home on weekends. I would be at Azad Maidan, at Cross Maidan, someday at MIG, at BKC doing some or the other games. She never asked me till how long, till when. So she all along she was with me. She had these things that come with that sort of a profession when your spouse is
Oh,
engaged with that sort of profession. So that was a good, like, real pillar of strength for me. That she never questioned anything. She did not understand anything of cricket and far away from umpiring, but she was like, "You do it. If
do
this
you
keeps you
now
happy,
take her? Do you now take her for all your trips when you have to go and you know how these trips happen for various cricket matches? Do you take her along?
Yeah, so for us, basically, it's little lesser glamorous than cricketers. So those are not no wags, our wives. She accompanied me for a couple of tours, yes, but also she's working with her organization, and most of my travel happened during those peak season. So, and basically, it's again in the initial phase of that career, you better concentrate and focus on what is there on the plate. So she did accompany me a couple of times, but yes,
How
it's mostly on
wonderful!
the Skype and WhatsApps.
What an interesting story. Yeah, it's such a, you know, my takeaway, to be honest, from your story is that you never lost your optimism, you know. And there's some, when I look at you, there's some level of, you're very humble, but there's some level of confidence that kind of reflects from your personality, and it's very, very enduring. So, yeah, it's great to have personalities like these, like yours, also, you know, in our legal community, and we're forever grateful for you to making your daring choices in life. So, thank you for that, Gautam.
I haven't seriously not used to hearing these nice things about myself.
Okay, I'm going to send this recording to you, and then you keep it, huh? Keep listening to it. You'll get used to it.
That will keep me motivating always.
Absolutely. Okay, my last question to you is if there was somebody, a 19-year-old in love with cricket, but you know doesn't want to really pursue it as a career. However, umpiring could have been a good option. Do you have any kind of suggestions or advice to youngsters who may look at this as a professional career?
See, my advice would be, as I said, these careers, they happen to you. You can't plan for these things. First thing you have to have is that sort of love and passion towards the game. You can say devotion on a serious note. So it's about serving the game. I got that opportunity. I grabbed that opportunity. That is why I was fortunate to take it up as career. People can think of it as a career because if you are officiating at the BCCI level, it puts you in the topmost tax bracket and it puts you even in the GST bracket. So it's a viable career option, but that does not mean that uh, because I'm there, I'm the best one there. It's because I was there at the right time, at right place, and I did not leave my passion, which kept me going in the game. So there are so many who perhaps could not make it despite being a lot better than me. So you cannot plan for these things. This is your passion, so it has to be treated like passion. And as we say, the game, if you love that game, if you serve that game, then the game is gracious enough to reward you. So
How
that
sweet.
would be my advice, that follow your love and follow your passion for the game. And it's okay to expect something in return, but don't put all your eggs in this
One
basket
basket.
thinking that I'm going to make a career in this and not look at something else. So that would be
And you
my
know,
advice.
the fact that you tried so many different things, including dubbing and, you know, it just at the end of it, it tells you that as human beings now, you can do whatever and you'll make a living. At some level, I think basic sustainability we all can manage. It's just about just believing in yourself. Yeah.
Yes, I would second that because that was the fundamental thing. Why do we do all these things? Obviously, there are people who are passionate about their professions and they want to achieve higher goals. So, admittedly, I did not have any such goals in the earlier professions that I professed. So, I had that sort of a confidence that यहाँ वहाँ से enough talent तो है कि कुछ ना कुछ तो कर ही लेंगे. It would not happen that I'm just sitting idle and doing nothing. So, but it has to be interesting. So, maza aana chahiye. So, the philosophy of life was it has to be fun.
It has to be
It
fun.
has to be interesting. So, it could be a roller coaster ride, but that's what we pay for in Esselwood. So,
Amazing. Thank you so much, Gautam, for being so honest with us, and thank you for giving us your time. The Grey Matter community is building a network of lawyers who've dared to act differently, and we are so grateful that you're a part of the community. So, thank you once again, and we hope to meet you in person super soon. To the audience, thank you so much for supporting our Dare Act series conversation. We stay tuned to the Grey Matter page because we will continue to bring forward more and more interesting stories your way. Thank you, Gautam. I shall see you soon.
the,
Take care.
the pleasure is all mine. Best wishes to you guys too. Thank
Thank
you.
you.